Hello, my name is Robert Henne, and I'm here today at the Ocean County Artists Guild. It is November 2014, and we're here to take a look at an ongoing show I have at the Guild. It's called Mindcapes, and I call it Mindcapes because I'm addressing subject matter that you don't normally see on canvas. I'm more concerned with thoughts and feelings and human interaction and how we go about portraying that on a canvas as opposed to the normal landscapes and ordinary subject matter that artists would show you. I'm going to show you the landscape of the mind, more or less. So let's take a look. We're going to take a look at my painting called The Awakening. This one is a little more literal. You can see, obviously, mannequins or ladies within these red sort of cubicles or containers. And it's called The Awakening because I'm trying to suggest here this one figure on the end kind of breaking out of the mold. And many people see this as a symbol of female liberation, or perhaps moving to the light from the dark. You'll notice that these other figures are stuck kind of looking out at the darkness. So this figure is literally turning away, is becoming something new and different. And that's what this painting is really about. I mean, hopefully it's fun to look at. There's a lot of interesting shapes going on and colors, strong color, which I usually include in my paintings. But what I'm trying to show here is something new and different about to happen. This person, this mannequin, literally coming to life, discovering new things, and moving away from where it's been. Here's something a little different. Most of my contemporary works have very bright colors, floating organic shapes, usually red, kind of representing organic life or people engaged in certain situations. In this one, we have a kind of a tragic figure. This is called Quiet Desperation. And it's called that because actually following a quote of the famous philosopher Thoreau, that most men live lives of quiet desperation. So this is my portrayal. You can see tattered and torn. This figure is trying to move forward. It literally looks like it's being shot at, explosions of blackness, of negativity around it. But it's kind of bound up in the middle, it's knotted up, and yet it survives and it moves forward in its desperation, but still living, still trying to forge ahead. Here we're going to take a look at a painting called Shorelines, and I hope you can see exactly why I call it that. I mean, we have some debris, more or less what you'd see at your feet if you went to the beach. There's beach stones, and these are actually real beach stones that I collected, and they're affixed to the canvas. The shell, of course, is painted in, and I'm playing with the idea of scale here. I'm suggesting greater shorelines. We have an Earth-type shape. When you think about it, the Earth itself is kind of a pebble in the cosmic shoreline. And I'm trying to weave that idea through here. You'll see some nice fish shapes going through. It's all about flow and how all of us, one way or another, are caught up in a flow, whether large or small, as we go through our life. And you know, hopefully you can enjoy it just for the realistic elements and kind of for what stands behind it as well. Okay, we're going to visit now the painting called The Caretaker. And we're kind of looking at a futuristic landscape. I'm trying to imagine, you know, if we go forward the way we seem to be going, nature is going to become under more and more stress. And nature has a way of striking back, and that's what this caretaker figure embodies. It's literally the caretaker of the last vestiges of nature, but it seems to have a vengeful nature about it. It's a very determined figure. It's literally kicking a can out of the way. It's pushing its way through this sort of industrial, futuristic landscape in a very determined way, and I think these folks should stay out of the way of the caretaker. Now we're going to take a look at one of my favorite subjects, actually. You'll see one of the red shapes that I've mentioned throughout. This is called compliance. And you'll see this little guy, this pulpy little mass kind of representing us, really, humanity in the face of this industrial landscape. You see it's sooty, forbidding, and he's sort of slumped in, defeated, and beyond that, he's actually kind of complying. He's not protesting his existence. He's kind of leaning in and just accepting his fate. So that kind of makes a statement about kind of where we're at with industrial society, and that's compliance. I'm standing in front of the painting entitled The Escape of Time, and it's a suggestion here of taking leave. We have one of my organic red figures, and it actually even looks like a heart. You can see chambers on it, and here we see the surroundings very sharp, almost like a razor blade, suggesting, you know, this could be punctured or could be damaged at any moment. And of course, this figure I see more as maybe a parental figure even. There's a small offspring or offshoot that's trying to follow, seems to be lost down in many of the obstacles. Here's maybe an umbilical cord. A lot of suggestions, a lot of things going on here, but the idea is the fragile nature of life, the obstacles we face at any point could damage us or take us down and bring our life to an end. Interestingly, I've also used on this side some strong red figures, and this is a little happier scene here, although it's called The Call for Belief, because you see by the surroundings, things seem to be smooth, and the obstacles, although sharp, these figures are overcoming them, with the exception of one thing. This figure seems to be turning away from the other. So this is really about miscommunication, or the insistence of one figure to try to communicate with the other. It's literally trying to gain attention. It has these swirling objects. It's broadcasting. It's trying to gain the attention of the figure. These could be male and female. They could be other kinds of one group versus another. But it's about trying to come together, and what must happen for one figure here to gain the other's attention in this mindscape. The painting we're looking at now is called Expectation, and as you notice, everything seems to be leaning this way. There's a podium shape, basically, with a microphone, or it's suggested anyway. And even the planetary, the moon shape, everything's concentrated, waiting for something. And I'm trying to create an eternal situation here. It's, in other words, what are they waiting for? It could be, in a religious sense, the second coming. It could be an answer to the age-old question, why are we here? It seems to be a timeless question, and probably one that we won't have an answer to. But these guys are laying in wait, waiting with all they have for that answer that may never come. Now we're looking at a painting called Plaything, and here again I'm playing with the idea of scale. It almost is like a child or fetus-like shape, probably within a living room area, but then we see it's ready to grab an object, and the suggestion here is that it's a planetary object perhaps, and it's sort of like Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End in a sense. It's the life form maybe becoming more than we've been. It may be the evolution of mankind, or it could just be a playful figure in a living room. But there it is, Plaything. We're exploring Party Time, the name of the painting, and you see it's a kind of a party scene. Of course, you see it's very festive. The suggestion here is that it's New Year's Eve. And the interesting thing is the relationships between some of the figures. You see some of them have sharp points, and you literally wonder how they're going to fit together or be friendly to one another. This couple seems to be walking in very confidently. Some of the others look a bit tentative, and we have a figure that's merely a silhouette. Someone, it's either the wallflower or maybe the omniscient observer in the scene, representing us looking at it. It's kind of the idea too here is these people are on stage. They're going through this, through the motions, and we can see it's like a tableau of life here at a party. I'm standing in front of a mixed media work, actually, a little bit unusual for me. It's called Waiting in Line, and literally figures becoming petrified, if you will. It's kind of a universal thing. We've all waited in long lines and felt like we were just becoming petrified, waiting forever. This was actually based on a series of pilings I saw along the surf. So this was a pretty literal interpretation. I just added the anguished faces. We have the light coming from the backside here, sort of, and the figures, unfortunately, are moving away from the light. Whatever they're waiting in line for is not necessarily so great, but you can see they're very anxious and unhappy with their long wait. So, waiting in line.